if we looked at it for longer than 10 seconds, it would go ahead and lift up off the bottom, which it does by expelling all of its stomach contents at once. And it kept doing it to us every time.
Not the same one, right?
I don't think it was the same one. No, they were different because it happened like 6 times on different dives.
Pathetic. People, other people getting Dumbo octopus and all this stuff.
We got this
every shift.
I mean, I find when I vomit, people run away from me, so I feel like that'll work.
It was at the other end.
See that?
Thanks for following us from Germany. It's good to have you with us.
Nautilus was originally a German ship.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Forgetting the name offhand. Now I read it the other day when we were doing tours.
Something Van Humboldt.
Alexander von Humboldt.
Yeah.
67, 68?
67
Yep.
in East Germany.
Yep.
So the ship has some cool names. So Alexander von Humboldt was this explorer, amazing guy that he actually went to my country, to Ecuador, and he was the first one to climb the highest mountain there. And he made like very cool drawings and descriptions about the country.
I'm going to switch the line over.
And he went all over the world, I guess.
10.
And now the Nautilus is called the Nautilus because of Jules Verne story, right?
Yep.
Pretty cool name.
Yeah, and I'd never actually seen the, we have the picture down the lounge of the original sub design, the sub Nautilus that Jules Verne based his fictional sub off of, and it's a really cool looking design.
What are you doing up here? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we have a visitor from another watch. Just curious about what we're doing here. Yeah, we will give you some brief overview of the targets of interest when we find them and when we have Hercules diving later on this week, perhaps. So thanks for following us from all over Europe. We are in the search of for the Samoan Clipper. This aircraft exploded and crashed into the sea northwest of Pago Pago, American Samoa, on January 11th, 1938. And we really hope to find it. This is a site of major significance in aviation history and American Samoan history too. This was the first plane that was attempting to start a service between the United States and New Zealand. So those services that we take for granted today, but at that time, they were just pioneers. They were starting.
Everyone that got off the other day from the last cruise and flew back to the States all took New Zealand Air. They flew over to New Zealand and then all the way back to Houston, I believe. And that was just what they did. Like, it was just got on an Airbus or something, and it was just a traditional scheduled flight.
Yeah, we don't think about those things. It's just regular. But that time in the 20s and 30s, Pan American Airways were just pioneers trying to connect all the world. And at that moment, the plane was designed to carry 32 passengers. And right now we have huge planes.
Well, but also keep in mind, so the Samoan Clipper and that route was actually a mail route. It was not a passenger route yet.
They were just trying.
There were 7 people on board, including the captain. And so this was the inaugural flight of a mail route, and they did have mail cargo, but it was not. They didn't have it for passengers quite yet.
Yep.
Seems like there's a giant rain cloud and some rain blocking our sunrise.
So Mike, can you tell us a little bit about the technology and how has it improved when searching for targets underwater, like in the last couple of decades?
Which Mike?
Oh, Brennan, I guess? Or, yeah, whoever wants to take that question.
Well, I'm not on. I'm trying to hand it over to you, Mike, for your AUVs and sonar knowledge.
Okay.
Don't get too excited.
No. Yeah, well, sonars have developed quite a lot over the past couple of decades. Marty Klein and some others developed some of the early ones, which were fairly low resolution, and actually you didn't have a screen like this. You had a print. You would write it out on paper, and it was like this streaming roll of paper coming out of a printer. Is what the side scan sonograph looked like. It was not digital like it is now. And over time it became digital. They developed higher frequencies. And then, I mean, the biggest advancement recently is the use of AUVs and the navigation, ability to have them navigate themselves on a tracked grid line without without us towing it around. And so it has they have inertial navigation systems, which are, it kind of basically senses where it's going without needing a GPS feed to tell it where it is. And so that's allowed for a lot of deep water unmanned exploration and mapping efforts to find targets on the seabed.
Mm-hmm. Do you see that technology improving a lot in the next, let's say, 5 years?
I mean, they're always improving it. I don't see any.
Like major improvements?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything major in development, but there certainly could be.
Cool.
This is a ballpoint pen. I will not use it. No, I can't write with these. Like, I can write pretty tidy with the felt tip one, but ballpoint pen I can't handle.
It's your Ocean Networks Canada pen.
Heathens. Uncivilized.
So how would we differentiate between possible just regular debris and the plane, if it's like a little destroyed in pieces?
Yeah, well, we're seeing a lot of rock, so it won't be, as obvious as maybe we would like it to be. But we are looking for one of the most important things with side scan sonar is the shadows. So the one in view right now is kind of bulbous and blocky like a rock would be. So we're looking for straight lines and a slightly different reflection that metal would give versus rock. So there are certain things that you look for like that.
Maybe, yeah. Might be a fish down there on the seafloor too. Hard to tell. Or just a rock.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I mean, on the other line, Argus started on it pretty close, and then started coming off. So yeah, I don't know if it's just like a duration of tow in the setback, or if the current's changing with topography.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're only about 400 or so meters setback. Fully extended, we're like 650. I keep seeing things on the bottom, and I'm not sure whether they're biology or geology. Rock or not a rock. That's a rock.
That's a rock.
So how many expeditions have you guys been with the Nautilus?
This is my 4th expedition and
Cool.
second time out on Nautilus.
Hmm.
I think this is my 5th year. I don't remember how many individual expeditions there
Mhm.
were within that.
That's a lot.
I'm on year 4. I say probably something like 12, maybe 14, something like that.
2. And the other one just ended 3 days ago.
So I did 8 years with Nautilus. I have no idea how many expeditions that was, and then was away for a couple of years, and then this is my first time back in 3 years.
Mm.
But I don't think I can even count them.
This is year 3 for me. I think also about 4 expeditions.
Cool. Do you guys have like the most, like, I don't know, a favorite one?
Yeah, my last one.
Not this
Why?
one.
Not this
Not
one.
this one.
This one has just started. You gotta wait for completion.
And do we have somebody else in the back row right now that's snuck in?
Yeah, Dee Dee's here.
Hey, Dee Dee.
She couldn't sleep
Yeah, I couldn't sleep.
anymore, I guess. Your
Aw.
jet lag kicked in.
Yeah, I believe what Megan was saying on the last cruise, which I think goes for a lot of things, is your favorite cruise is the next one.
Oh yeah.
She stole that from Ballard.
Oh, is
Because
she?
whenever someone says, "What's your favorite discovery?" he always says, "The one I'm about to make."
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's because we were talking about things we were seeing and what we wanted to see
Sure,
and
yeah,
stuff. And it was really like, you know, you don't know what you want to see. When someone else sees something, it's like, oh, I wish I was there for that. And it's just kind of, you just kind of come upon these things as time goes on.
Yeah. Well, this is certainly a different sort of mode for Nautilus, at least in recent years. And as boring and frustrating as looking at side scan and rocks and mud can be, you know, the plane's out here. We just have to do our due diligence and keep plugging away. So
Oh, this is
in advance, thanks for everyone sticking with it.
this is way more exciting than just multi-beam.
That, you know, there is that at least.
Me alone in a room at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I never consider those. I was like,
Yeah, you
oh,
guys
we're
never-
up here doing this, and it's like, yeah, sometimes I'm not. I'm just.
I suppose there are worse things than side scan.
We're on transit and everyone's like, oh yeah, this is great. We don't have watch anymore and we can
Yeah.
just do whatever we want.
No one actually
down
says
there.
that. No one says that.
What, the transit's great?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were saying that was great.
Who said that?
Justin.
Yeah.
He has less data being generated.
Yeah,
to
but
deal
he
with.
never has watch.
Yeah, he also
No,
never
this
has watch.
He-
That
well,
was-
he
that was a
always is
different-
on.
it was
No,
a
it was,
different-
it was one of our
Different Justin.
Oh, a
SCF.
different Justin.
Oh,
Yeah, that we brought on.
Oh. Well, I mean, multi-beam can be fun if you're doing a grid pattern and you're seeing a landscape sort of develop, but if it's a transit multi-beam, like, it's just like a line.
Yeah. No,
So
it's just,
different.
we just had it on to have it on.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was lonely at times. I made them bring down games sometimes so that I had something to do.
It's like that movie Moon where Sam Rockwell's like on the space station by himself.
Yeah. No, I make it sound like everyone came down to entertain me and play games with me. I took the game so that if they wanted to play it, they had to come down.
That's
Oh.
even sadder.
They came down. It was fun. It was good friendship.
And sometimes you watch those wildlife documentaries and they show the behind the scenes and it's like one guy sitting in a hide for like 2 months by himself
just
and
by
he sees,
himself with a
the
camera.
snow leopard once. It's
Yeah.
Like, oh god.
You see the most interesting thing he had seen for months. They go watch their premiere and that guy's sitting there listening to people go, oh yeah, the leopard was cool, but I thought the shark was cooler. What did I just do for months?
So when we find things that we think may belong to an aircraft, what we do is we mark the point. We're going to finish to scan the whole grid, and then we're going to launch the Herc.
Well, not necessarily the whole grid.
Oh,
we're
okay.
going to do a little bit more to kind of make sure that we've covered the debris field. And we want to get the Argus camera down on it to, you know, have a positive identification before we bring it back up and take the time to reinstall Herc onto the tether. But we're not necessarily going to finish the whole grid if we, you know, have positive identifications and feel like we've covered the debris field appropriately. And the grid may also expand based on what we find and or do not find. So again, we're only on line 3, so there's a long way to go.
Okay.
That's
Ooh,
3
there it is.
total.
Purple sea cucumbers.
Yep. Mike, we should get you one of those bingo sheets while you're Hercules.
Yes, that's right, yeah. The bingo sheet for tomorrow.
Nautilus bingo. Yeah, but you can cheat, because isn't it what we say, a lot of it?
That's right, I'm not allowed to play.
Is it what we say?
There's a
or-
bunch of things that have to do with what we're talking about, like whether we mentioned food
Right,
and
that's
whether
right. Yeah, it's not just things.
it's
you
not
say.
just things you see.
Well, then he can't talk about it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
But he could steer the conversation.
that's right, yeah.
true. Let's give him the sheet and tell him not to talk for 4 hours.
Just ask the questions directly. Just like, what's your second favorite fruit?
Is that why? Is what the snack was one of them? Because I
don't
swear
know. I think
people
there's
would ask
multiple
that.
versions of the
Yeah, people would ask that like every watch.
on the feed.
Yeah.
The second favorite thing?
I think somebody said it as a joke one time, and then it got picked up for real.
Yeah. No, like what the 3 p.m. snack is. Like people would write in on the feed, you know, like
Oh,
what was
yeah.
it today? Because you know it's like cookies sometimes it's pastries that they make and stuff.
No, but I guess when they're asking questions, sometimes Trevor always asks, "What's your second favorite vegetable?"
Because originally there were those questions would come and be like, "What's your favorite vegetable? What's your favorite food?" or something. And I think it would be funny and just saying, "What's your second favorite one?"
favorite.
But then it went back and then it started coming out as a question.
I saw this thing. It was like someone's realization of why kids like are so inquisitive. It's because like aside from like a 5-year-old, when are you ever gonna have someone ask you what your 5th favorite tree is?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I don't know, spruce.
That's right.
I don't even have a first favorite tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would say maple tree, because you can get maple syrup.
Mm-hmm. I had 5 maple trees in my backyard one time, so they were not my favorite tree, because they lay down a lot of leaves.
Mm. Yeah, we have friends in Vermont that have like 100 and some acres of tapped maple trees.
My favorite trees are mangroves. Because I feel
Yeah,
like they
they're
are
beautiful.
giant,
Yeah.
giant tarantulas.
Yeah.
They're cool.
They're awesome.
I like birch trees.
Birch bark's good for fires.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's all. That's what
And
I burn home in the wood stove. I like it for that.
They look pretty.
They do.
Good in a painting. Good Bob Ross birch tree.
Yep.
Happy little tree.
Was watching Bob Ross recently on Netflix one night. There's some of them on there.
There's a lot of them on there.
Yeah, and he called he called little flourishes like doers. Like as if this little tiny bit, you know, you draw most of a wave and then you draw like the white part on the top.
Yeah.
He called that a doer, right? He'd be like, these little doers over here, because the little bit did so much. It's really funny.
I would watch those all the time. Like I'd come back from track practice and just put it on, and I'd just fall straight asleep. It's just because like the way he talks and stuff.
Yeah. It's pretty entertaining.
But no, yeah, it's crazy. You like fall asleep for like 5 minutes, wake up, and he's gone from a black canvas to like this beautiful painting, and you're like, "What? I wasn't even gone for that long."
Yeah.
Fun fact: Bob Ross was in the Air Force.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. He made it quite far. I don't know if he was like master sergeant or something. But yeah, one of his shows I was watching, he was saying eventually he got tired of all of the military and yelling and stuff, and decided to retire and do painting.
Wow.
I mean, he had done it the whole time. That was like his
Right.
break, when he came home.
Yeah. So I would think that looks like interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. On
Yeah,
the
what do you
edge
think
there.
we're seeing there?
Yeah, Mike, on the bottom left.
What is that?
Is that a thing?
Is that noise or?
Where?
Bottom left
Bottom
and the low
left.
frequency.
Like here?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a rock, or that's the rocks
The
that
whole
we've been
works
seeing.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the shadow is just lighter because it's so far
This
out.
here? Oh yeah. That's the attenuation we're talking about. So it's hitting it at a different angle.
Got it.
Looks like there's a bit of a depression here in front of it. That's also blocking some of the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Shouldn't we be going back uphill?
Kind of. We're kind of coming sideways.
To say it hasn't been changing very much.
It's
but
it's not much. They're pretty spread out 5-meter contours that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like there is a slope, but it's really not much of it. If we extend the grid beyond this area, there's some more funky bathymetry we're gonna see, but this area is pretty tame, except for that one little dude over there.
Yeah. Yeah, 5 meters every 120 meters. It's a
It's a low
pretty
slope.
gradual slope.
yeah.
So how sure are we that we will find the clipper? Someone asks.
Don't ask that.
I feel like we are pretty sure. We'll find it.
But we don't want to say anything that will jinx it, first of all.
Yeah, knock on wood.
So we've done a lot of background research. Russ and Lonnie did a lot of archival research to find all of the photos and reports and encoded messages from. So Pan Am had their own encoded code for sending telegrams, and they went through and found all of this stuff, and he's got printouts of a lot of it with him. So a lot of the eyewitness reports and locations from the ships and planes that went out to look for it, where debris was found, currents and wave information from that day. I looked through a lot of oceanographic data to try to figure out what currents were like, which the answer is kind of variable, so it wasn't really very helpful. Anyway, so we've definitely done our homework, and we have the areas narrowed down quite well. And some of the really important points are that eyewitnesses saw it and reported it certain distances from places on American Samoa, as well as when the aircraft that came to look for it and the ship that followed it came out here. They said that they saw an oil slick that seemed to be coming from the seafloor. Like, so they weren't like looking at it bobbing around on the surface. They were looking at like the origin of it from the seafloor. So while we may not have the exact down to the second position for it, we're fairly confident that it's nearby.
Yeah.
But like I said previously, it's we've got our track lines and our grid in. We just need to be patient and be diligent with it, so that we get full coverage and pay attention to what's going on. Because with these rocks down here, stuff can be missed. So we just have to make sure we're keeping an eye out on it and being patient and being systematic with it.
Yep. Yeah, it's also important to mention for the people following us that at this depth, we're not expecting this wreck to be covered by...
Just thinking about that, I was just looking at the clock. Can I borrow your quality pen?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're expecting the wreck to be pretty much without much cover with marine animals or any vegetation, right?
Yeah, I mean, other aircraft that I've seen haven't really been. Some of the ones that were found are around the site of USS Lexington, the aircraft carrier sunk in the Coral Sea that Paul Allen and the Petrel team found last year. Some of the planes are pristine. I don't. It might be that like aluminum isn't really a very solid, stable structure for them to settle on, as opposed to like the steel of a ship, or perhaps, I'm not sure. But another thing to note about the depths that we're operating in is we're not going fast. We're going like a knot because there's not only is Argus heavy, and it's not really an ideal tow fish in terms of hydrodynamics, but we're also towing with 3,200, or probably more than that, a little over 3,200 meters of steel cable in the water behind us, so it's acting like a big sea anchor. And so the survey is not going to be a fast operation. So we, again, just we're doing our diligence and we're out here. The most important thing is that we're out here. We have the instruments in the water, and we're doing the survey. So.
Yep.
It's always the last half hour of the 4-day watch that's the worst.
When you're just waiting for breakfast.
Because you're like, that it's out, and that and the next watch is like, oh, and you're like, okay.
I often don't have it. I'm tired and go to bed. I sleep more in the daytime on this 4-day shift.
I'm the same way too, yeah.
But today I'm eating it. Too exhausted from yesterday. Gotta have something.
I had forgotten about like all the leftover crepes that are always out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm gonna gain so much weight on this cruise.
Oh, you gotta watch it. Yeah, for sure.
Not to mention like croissants and cookies and all the other carbs.
All of it. Yeah. Mike, how much are you out doing field work similar to this with your current gig?
So we do a lot of different types of field work. The main sort of bread and butter of the company search is land survey for archaeological sites, which often consist of shovel tests. So every 50 meters or every 25 meters, depending on what's required, we do a 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter shovel excavation down to sometimes 40 centimeters, but sometimes up to a meter. In Florida, you have to go down to a meter depth with a shovel, and then it's screened for artifacts. So that's the sort of field work that the company does quite often. Our maritime division does a lot of shallow water survey, so around like new bridge construction in rivers, or some like cable laying in bays, or ahead of dredge operations, like to clear a channel.
Right.
We make sure that there's no shipwrecks or other cultural resources that are going to be impacted. So a lot of it is local and/or when it's maritime, it's shallow water stuff. So I haven't actually done a lot of deep water stuff in the past couple of years. I did this year. I was out on an expedition off of Long Island. There was a sunken oil tanker from World War II that was leaking oil since 2015, and because some of the rivets were starting to go, so we went down with a multidisciplinary group of organizations to document and then tap into the hull to determine how much oil was in there. And then I was out of the Marshall Islands doing a sonar survey of shipwrecks at Bikini Atoll just last month. And deep water projects are something that my boss, Jim Delgado, who used to be at NOAA, Office of National Marine Sanctuaries, we're trying to develop more in the deep water realm. So we've got some work with our partners at BOEM to try to look at some sonar targets that were found during oil lease block surveys. That could be some other shipwrecks down there, and other things like that we have in the works.
Right on. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Lots of cool projects.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I worked for Nautilus, which was, as you all know, is wonderful. One of the things that is limiting is the location. You know, so right now, if I need the only area that we could be working in is you know, this area of the Pacific. So the nice thing about working for a company that's so broad is that, you know, we can do projects all over the place.
Right. Yeah.
And OET is moving that direction with their mobile system, so they'll be able to have a footprint in more than one area. But yeah, it's been good because we can develop projects in different areas.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Argus definitely seems to be tracking better. It's been going for a
Yeah,
while
it seems
now.
to so far.
Awesome.
What's also funny is that we actually use a almost identical side scan at Search. We have we use it as the actual towfish. We don't break it apart into its components like for Argus, but it's very similar. I think it's the same frequencies. We use the same software.
Oh yeah.
The difference though is that they just collect the data all at once. They don't target it, and then they go back to the office and process all the data after the fact, because they don't do ROV dives like on stuff immediately. They would go back and do a second project to do usually scuba diver operations. So it is weird for me to see a target and like not have to do anything. Like, oh, there's a cool target, and it's just like, okay, let it go by. We got it. We recorded it. I'm like, we don't need to log it. Nope. Okay. So a lot of this stuff can be done in post-process as well.
Right.
We're taking the more instant gratification route.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of our followers says that we should never knock on wood when we're on a ship. That's bad luck.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I should learn some more, like the superstitions on board. That'd be
Oh, there are
important.
plenty.
Yeah, right?
Mike is not a subscriber to
I
many.
don't do any of them. And I'm grudgingly not whistling because I'll probably be keel hauled, but
So apparently you're not supposed to bring women or redheads on board.
no,
So too bad. There's a bunch of women here.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, that was way back when it was supposedly
Yeah.
bad luck.
Mhm.
But I think with the amount of stuff that we've seen and found on Nautilus with largely women crew, we can discount that.
Yeah, exactly. I remember
Yeah.
I wanted to board a very old ship in the Galapagos sailing to French Polynesia, and the captain said no because I was a woman, and that was bad luck.
Wow, that's
Sad.
Yeah, no.
That's so
crazy.
sad.
The chief mate who I'm talking to on the bridge right now, Martina, is female, and she's first mate of the ship.
Yeah, and the leader expedition is also a woman.
Yeah, there's a lot of women out on within OET and out on the Nautilus all the time.
Yeah, right here on the cabin we have Wendy, the pilot, also. Me, I'm pretty sure I'm a woman, also.
And we have Rebecca back here.
We have Rebecca and Didi, right?
Dee Dee stepped out, but
Oh.
she'll be back.
She's still on the ship.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have
Jeez.
a bunch of.
And our science team, of the 6 of us, there's 2 men and 4 women. So,
Yeah.
Our whole Argus team is women.
That's
Yep,
so
that's
great.
true. Yeah.
The Coast Guard Academy has been working really hard to like fit the proportions of the American public for who we enroll, and I think we're at about 40% female Corps
Wow, really?
cadets right now. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, they're making pretty good strides for that. It's big for I know, especially with the Coast Guard, what they use it for is diversity of experience and diversity of thought. That if you have all the same people with same backgrounds in a room together, they're not going to come up with many solutions to a problem.
That's right.
But when you have people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different experiences, that's when you really get diverse solutions to whatever you come across.
Yeah, agree.
That's a good philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. A lot of things are a lot of places are making that turn, and it's like so good because the older kind of philosophy is like the opposite of what Chris is talking about. It is like it's not very good for finding creative solutions to complex problems, or
Yeah.
it's not very effective.
Well, I mean, especially with the military and armed forces, which are traditionally used to be all male. It's very cool to see that they're making that effort in that way.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, it's been a while in the making.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really been the push that those who serve the country are adequate and appropriate representation of
Yeah.
those they're
Makes
serving.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have a lot of international cadets too that their countries and the Coast Guard Academy work together, that they'll come over for the 4 years of training, and then take what they've learned back to their countries. So I don't know a number, but there's a good number of different nationalities that we have at the academy right now.
So to respond a question, we have Argus between 10 and 20 meters above the seafloor.
What are some other rules on ships, other superstitions? You can't knock on wood. I didn't know that.
Isn't there something with bananas?
No bananas.
Yeah.
No
I have heard that
bananas,
one,
yeah.
which I totally approve of because they're gross.
Oh, what?
I love them, but they do turn other food off. Like bananas will. There's lots of other food that they go off rapidly.
Yeah, I don't know what the origin of that one is. I just know no bananas. I mean, it kind of ties into no yellow.
Oh, really?
Oh, is that a thing?
Why?
Yeah.
I thought it was just a rotting
Well,
thing.
that's one of Nautilus's colors, so that's bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's yeah. I mean,
Yeah, we're like,
Hercules.
that's one
Hercules
that
too.
Hercules is yellow.
that's kind of
oh my
out there.
god.
But I know, like, you know, like you'll be harder pressed to find like yellow rain gear for ships. You know, it's very common.
That's why the
this year,
immersion
like,
suits aren't yellow.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I mean that's international orange.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
Huh.
it's
That's funny.
a less followed thing, but it's still out there.
Also, as the captain mentioned yesterday, whistling.
Yep.
Yeah. And cutting one's hair or nails also.
You're
Bad
not
luck.
allowed to cut your hair?
Can't cut
or-
your
Yeah, you're not
nails?
allowed.
You
no.
have to cut your nails. I mean,
No,
I
they
can't.
said it's like bad luck.
I
Or
See, I mean,
starting a
so-
voyage, starting a voyage
So
on
they're-
Friday or the first Monday in April.
So this makes
also.
me hopeful because there's been so many positive changes with diversity at sea. There's lots of women at sea. People are cutting their nails at
Yeah.
sea. So
Yeah.
maybe one day I'll be
Yeah.
allowed to whistle.
And yeah, exactly. And
Probably not.
having a yellow ROV, yeah, we're okay.
We're all game changers out here with our yellow ROV pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah. So naming a ship after an engaged woman would make the ship jealous. So
Oh,
just in
okay.
case you're thinking about buying a ship, you cannot do that.
Oh, also don't changing the name of a ship
Yeah, without the proper ceremony.
or having a ship without a name.
Yeah.
That being said, I did see, I was out boating sometime, it was a recreational boat that was called Murphy's Law. I did not think that was a better name than No Name.
Yeah, that's kind of a sketchy name for a ship, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the basis of it is everything that will happen, like that can happen,
That
will
can
happen.
happen, will
but the way
happen,
it's
yeah.
usually interpreted is everything that can go wrong,
Negative
will
things.
go wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not the best name for a boat.
But you know what is a good luck thing? Spitting into the ocean prior to setting sail, apparently.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
in case.
Did not do that.
That,
But we're going to find the clipper anyways,
Yeah.
even if we
That,
didn't spit.
the spitting we use a lot of times for when we're pulling off the dock, just putting some reference point in the water and you can see what the currents are doing around the dock.
That's probably where it started.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's cool.
Because
That's
otherwise you'll